What do you think about clones?
How do I feel about clones? It's not the best feeling in the world. I mean, I think if you're a hobbyist or a student and you're like reverse engineering things to learn, like that's how I learned electronics too, is looking at other people's designs. And I built some for my friends. But if you try to build a company, you know, like with distribution and everything, and you're copying other people's designs and passing them as your own, I think it's like, I don't think it's ethical towards your competitors, but also it's not ethical toward your users, because they believe they're buying something that you made, that you invented, and you're maybe just rehashing, you know, someone else's intellectual property. So it's, I don't know, it is what it is. I think it also drives us to do, like, reinvent ourselves more and more, and to not, you know, like, stay like complacent about our design. So we're always just looking for the next thing and the next idea, and just trying to stay ahead of this, and also doing products that are harder to copy. Like, that's why we're implementing a lot of digital functionality with analog, because that's something that's really difficult to do. It takes like a lot of engineering know-how to do, and usually people who clone stuff tend not to be the best engineers. So yeah, I think like the hyperluminal or the capsim on the ultra pedals are a good example of that. Like, those are functionalities that would be extremely difficult for other people to clone. So yeah, and it's fun to do these things too. Like it's okay.
Do you have plans like for a bigger amp, something like a hybrid or even like a tube amp?
No, I doubt it. I mean, actually with Neural DSP, I've learned a lot about tube amplifiers, because we are we're doing plugins of them. And actually, having a tube preamplifier is worthless. There is nothing on a triode that's adding anything to your sound that you cannot replicate with solid state or digital. Like, that's doing a tube preamp in digital or analog is solid state and analog is extremely easy. It's the power amp that's where the magic is. There's something with the interaction between the pentodes and the power supply and the output transformer and the reactive load that is extremely difficult to model in plugins digitally. And actually, that's one of the things that Neural DSP is doing. Like, that's, I think, differentiating us from many of the other companies doing plugins, is that our power amplifiers are like extremely well and detailed, modeled in great detail. But I think to get the benefit on a bass amplifier, you'd need to have a tube power amplifier, which is like this old school Ampeg SVTs or the Mesa Boogie Bass 400 is, you know, you'd end up with a 40 kilo or 30 kilo amplifier. And there's just not a market for that, I think. The trend now is as light and small as possible. So yeah, no, I really don't think so. Unless we can do something digital that can sort of get the benefit, but without the cost and the weight, then maybe, but no plans for that anytime soon.
One guy is like a little bit complaining about like the fans in the amp that are so loud. And why is that? And why don't you use like quieter products? Is there something reason?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, fans have been problematic to us. It's been hard to find. We have to like redesign the fan control part almost like batch to batch, because the fans are not so consistent. So it's something that's been like a challenge for us, and I think it's something that we'll definitely look into. But yeah, we're aware that the fans could be quieter, and are working on some possible solutions for the future. So yeah, it's something that we're aware of and that we acknowledge and are trying to, you know, improve. Those questions are fine, by the way. Like, people have complaints about something, like I'd love to address them too.
So why don't you have like rec kits for your amps?
I think we're doing something with. I don't want to say the name of the company because I'm not sure. There's a few companies that do rack things. We thought about doing a kit, but like with the Darkglass like design, and it would be just too expensive. But actually, I think we are trying to partner up. Actually, we're trying to partner up with a company that does this rack trays, and we're giving them the measurements of the holes, so that the trays that they sell pre-drilled, you could remove the rubber feet on your amplifier and put them there. So yeah, we're working on that, but it's not going to be a Darkglass product. It's going to be someone else's product that will be compatible with our amplifiers as well as other.
Are you planning to release at some point some more affordable cabinets for your amps?
That's a good question. We're looking into some options, but it's really hard to say now. And I think generally it's not good for me to speak about future things, like future products, because everything is so uncertain. engineering and manufacturing is like uncertain. Like you have ideas and then you have to see if they're possible or not. So yeah, we'll see.
Next question goes in the same direction, and which is very obvious, and I think the most interesting for most of you Douglas users right now. When is the Microtubes X Ultra coming?
I don't know what you're talking about, man.
All right, let's just leave it right there. What's your favorite pedal at the moment?
I would say it's the X7 or the Alpha Omega Ultra. It's they're so different, and like of course I'm saying that like more than pedal, like the colors, I would say is the X series and the Blue series, the Alpha Omega series. So it doesn't have to be the more expensive one, but like the Alpha Omicron, for example. I just find that those two pedals are extremely good at doing the opposite, like in the range of distortion from what you got, we have like almost fuzzy grittiness and then like this super tight and sharp and tight low end. I feel like they like cover all the ground. Those two can cover like all of that ground. So I would say it would be an X pedal combined with a Alpha Omega pedal.
Someone's interested in a bit of your like musical backstory, not your personal, but like what kind of bands do you listen to at the moment? Who's your favorite bass player, and who are your like, idols? And these kind of
Yeah, I mean, there are several. Like Alex Webster is one of my like idols actually, and it's cool that now we're friends. So that's like a very very nice thing. Tool, of course, is like Justin Chancellor is one of the greatest, and John from Carnival, who's also a good friend of mine, but also I admire him tremendously, and I've been a fan of his way before we even met. So Carnival is also like a really big musical influence, and John's playing and sound is something that I personally enjoy very much. Then actually lately I've been listening to a lot of like more like new metal, almost like Breaking Benjamin, and this more like I don't know, Korn and actually Gojira lately. I've been on a Gojira kick for a while, and then of course like Periphery and Meshuggah, Rush. Although I think Rush, I'm more of a fan of Geddy Lee's than Rush itself. Like I love Geddy's playing and his tone more than I probably enjoy like listening to like whole Rush albums. Billy Sheehan is also one of my like idols, especially when I was like playing. I wanted to play it really fast. He was just doing things that I couldn't believe anyone could do. So Billy Sheehan is. Right,
and then you figured out he's just using a screwdriver all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Playing ultra. Yeah. Yeah, I would say. I mean, yeah. I'm leaving a lot of people. I could make a list of like 80 bass players that are like. Yeah. But those are the ones that come to mind right now. Yeah. But if you ask me tomorrow, I might give you like 4 different people or 4 different bands also.
Yeah. One thing which is not really a question, but just came up a couple of times. I think the pedal actually people are looking mostly for, which is just like a public service information for you, are actually Octave pedals.
Yeah.
I didn't specifically ask anyone what kind of product they're looking for, but this came up actually in different threads on different pages that like when is the Darkglass Octave coming, which obviously never.
Never. No, to be honest, that I can talk because I mean like there's not much to tell. The main reason we do anything like a pedal or any product is because we have some cool concept that we think can like do something new in a way that makes a product good or better than what currently is available. I think with octaves, it's a very interesting concept, and as an engineer, I'm really interested by octave circuits, and even digitally now, I'm also interested in like frequency doublers and these techniques to achieve octave effects. I think probably if you can find a cool angle or a cool concept, like we did with Hyperluminal, like at the end it's a compressor, but it's like a very unique, like what it does is very like straightforward, but how it does it is like very unique in a way that makes the product really versatile. If you can have a similar idea for a octave pedal, something that sounds great and is very useful, but it also gets there in a very unconventional or like bizarre way. Then we'll probably do an octave pedal, but for the moment we haven't just had time to look into it. And it's same with modulation pedals. Like people also ask a lot for choruses, for example. And the reason we haven't done a chorus is because right now we couldn't do a chorus that would be vastly different or better than what you can already find. So why would we try to get you to buy ours if, I don't know, I could probably recommend someone else's chorus that would be just as good. And the same goes for octave pedals. Like if I can do an OC2, like something that's better than the OC2, which is impossible, of course, because it's the holy grail Octaves. But yeah, if you could do something that's cool and unique, then we'd probably do it. But until then, we probably won't.
Did it ever cross your mind, or are there like distant plans of making some sort of rack preamps, like something like a B7K and like a 19-inch
No, I mean,
layout?
I think racks are one of those things that people ask for them, but when you make them, nobody buys them. It is one of these things like people. I'm kind of like sick with people asking for like rack stuff. Of course, now being in the industry, I have like access to like sales data, and I can see, I can look at actually figures of companies that do pedals and racks and other formats, and the sales, like the volume sales, is like 1% of a similar equivalent product in pedal. So there's just not enough people that would be interested in them. Also, I think like at the end, a rack would just be a very expensive pedal, but there's like no added benefit to the rack that I could find. So yeah, no, that I can say for sure that for as long as I'm in charge of Darkglass, that there won't be any rack products. I mean, unless there is something changes drastically, but for the time being, no.
Is there any special meaning behind the Darkglass logo, like the F-class?
I mean, I'm a bass player, and I love aesthetically pleasing things, and I think a lot of the emphasis in design we have at Darkglass it's driven by that. And I always wanted to have like I'm trying to always have logos that are like a jewel, something that you could have tattooed and it wouldn't look goofy. And I think the Douglas logo I think achieves that. Like it's symmetrical. It's like this. I don't know. It's a bass clip, so it represents my love and passion for bass guitar. And then I thought it looks cool. Right. But there's no like sacred Illuminati meaning to it or anything.
Do you feel like partially responsible for every bass player sounding the same today?
No, of course not. I mean, anyone can make pedals, right? Like other people could make. And also, I mean, I don't know. I think that's probably more. That's probably more bass players trying to sound like a certain like. That's probably, I think it's more musicians trying to like follow their influencers and to be more like them than everyone using the same equipment. Because, I mean, we have like Tim Lefebvre, for example, who is like an amazing bass player, and he uses like the X7 and the Alpha Omega, but he sounds nothing like John Stockman or Jacob Wimansky or Nolly. So we have people from, I mean, if you look at our website, like, I don't know, we have like The Strokes and A Perfect Circle using our pedals, and they sound nothing like Nolly or Dick from Meshuggah, like also uses our pedals, and also very different sounds. So I think it's more about how people use them than the tool only sounding one way. I feel like we always try to make products that are very flexible. So I think if people end up setting them up the same way, it's probably just because they want to have that sound. But I don't think that's on me. I don't think that's my fault, to be honest. I'm guilty for other things, but that I wouldn't say that's one of them.
Someone's concerned about like a potential delusion of your brand because you're releasing too many pedals in such a short time.
People complain that we like are too active and like to work too much. Yeah. So, I mean, what's the alternative? Like release something derivative every 2 years? Like I think that's boring. I mean, like I love to design and invent things. Like that's what I like to do. And I'm sorry if that's inconvenient for some people, because we're releasing too many things too soon. And my engineers also love to work and design and try new things. So I don't think so. Like I think brands are built on great products and reinventing themselves. I think that's how. I think like a good brand starts with a great product, but then a good brand stays relevant by continuing to reinvent itself. And I think the only way to do that is to be constantly exploring and doing new things and trying out new things, sorry. So no, I mean, I don't think so. And if you look at the Darkglass brand, I think now it's stronger than ever. I mean, like, this has been like our biggest year ever by far. So the trend does not suggest that. And I don't think so. I mean, one thing though that I think will probably slow down the pace a little bit, but that's not to appease any people who would like us to innovate slower. It's just because the pace I've been pushing for the past 18 months has been a bit too intense, and I don't want to burn any of our teams out. So it's more about like, I don't know, finding like a more sustainable work-life balance and rhythm more than anything else. So I think it'll probably like be a little bit easier, but yeah, I mean, we'll still have like several releases a year. Of course, like I mean, what am I? What are we gonna do in the meantime? Like you want to just like, I don't know, like
make plugins.
Huh? Yeah, that's a different company. And also with plugins, we're trying to do like plugins, every 8 to 12 weeks. So, but plugin people don't complain about this at all.
The I/Os of your pedals, do they have a high or a low pass?
The only one that has a low pass is the X7. Yeah. Then the B7K and the Vintage Deluxe are full range, so no filters. And then of course the Ultra series have you can have it full range or have the capsing, which is its own thing. So.
What do you think about multi-effect stuff? Is this something like maybe for like the distant future, or is this something you're basically interested in? Or?
I think they're great. Like I mean, I think it's a great solution, and I think the amount of things that you'll be able to do digitally are only going to increase and get better. So I found them very interesting. That I think that's all I can say. Yeah, I found them fascinating, and from an engineering point of view, they're very fascinating. They're very interesting. They're very complex pieces of machinery. They're like exponentially more complex than any analog pedal. There are several things that you need to do really well to have even a multi-effect that sounds. Then to get it to sound amazing, then there's like a whole new layer of complexity. So no, I'm really intrigued by them and interested by them.
You think that like the R&D team did a ton of study of all tube amps and all amps in general to get a certain feel into the Darkglass Class D package, which is available now?
No. It's actually, I would say that the microtube circuits they were my attempt of capture a amplifier topology, like the stages that make a tube amplifier into a small circuit. So actually the gain stages and the type of gain stages and the filtering are kind of designed to mimic what an amplifier and a speaker would do. I'm not saying that they achieved that particular goal like really well, but that was kind of like the inspiration for that design. And I think then it was a pretty logical transition of adding that circuitry into, an amplifier combined with a power amp. It's the sound of the pedal, but really loud. But yeah, no, like we didn't like necessarily study or we're not claiming to like emulate tubes or although the name is microtube, but that's just because it sounds cool. But yeah, no, we didn't study anything, like any particular brand or design.
Someone's asking, it basically starts with a compliment. So that you're a huge part of what bass sound is today, especially, of course, the rock and metal scene and these kind of things. Distorted bass, of course, your topic. So as a kind of icon in this field, do you have like a vision for the bass sound of tomorrow, where this might go?
It's a really good question, and it's a really difficult one to answer. I mean, I think part of trying to answer that question is why we come to work every day and sort of trying to figure these things out. I think that there's a lot of, I don't know. Yeah, that's a great question. I have ideas, but actually most of my ideas come more from the engineering point of view, like what circuit would be cool to make, and then kind of like the sound is sort of like follows. And I have some like pretty. Like there's like a new generation of pedals coming, I think, like I'm not sure if next year, but maybe the year after, that will be like very strange compared to what we or I would say almost anyone is doing today. So I have ideas, but it's hard to say for sure. At the end, you never know for sure. You just have an idea, you put it out there, and either succeeds or it doesn't. So.
But you're on it. So it's
I mean that's very flattering. Thank you. It's a very nice comment.
Why is no MIDI capability?
No, it's like no space actually. If you look at maybe you can take a shot of the pedal open. There's no room for anything else. And actually fitting the controls there was extremely challenging. We had like a lot of really smart people work a really long time on how to. The first plan was to make it a big one, but I really wanted to make it compact to the like despair of my engineers. But yeah, there's no room for, anything else. People ask the same about top mounted jacks. Like when there's room, we do it. But with the small pedals, there's just not enough room, unfortunately. We have to make them taller, but then they look like a brick. I don't know. They look weird. Yeah.